So I think I'm in a unique position to basically tell you how you can create content that turns into clients and not likes. And the reason for it is my content doesn't get a ton of likes. I've never gone viral, and I was able to make six figures in my first year as a solo founder without having any kind of plan, saying a lot of cringy stuff, and still getting 27 clients. Today's video, I want to break down how you can actually create content that isn't just resonating with people in terms of likes, comments, follows, but actually turns into clients. So I'm going to just talk about how I've done that, and then also just kind of breaking down like how freaking simple it is, right? And this is going to work on two levels. If you have an audience and you're getting a ton of likes and comments, this is going to help you, because if you aren't turning them into clients, let's talk about that. Or if you have a tiny audience like I do, and you're not getting many likes or comments at all, but you still need clients, this is going to work for both groups, right? Because essentially it's the same solve. And so if you don't know who I am, welcome. My name's Colby. This is my scrappy little YouTube channel that I'm trying to get started in 2026. I have a business called Autonomy Club, and it is really focused on that word autonomy. It helps established founders who have existing clients already, who basically feel like their business is running them and they're not running the business. So their calendar's all over the place. They probably don't love all the people they're working with, staff and clients and that sort of stuff. And what we do is we actually align the business to the lifestyle they want. So as their business gets bigger, life gets better. The people I help, as their business gets bigger, life gets worse, right? So we solve that problem together, one-on-one, basically a business partner without the equity. All right. So let's actually kind of talk about, how do you create content that actually leads to clients and not just likes? To be perfectly honest, I can't answer this directly because, again, I've never gone viral, right? So I am going to make it almost impossible to fail with this. You're not actually going to get the, how do I create content that just sends me clients? Because there's this mindset of top of funnel content, which is 97% of the people, I think. Middle of funnel, right? Which is going to grab like a certain percentage. And then there's bottom of the funnel. As you can tell, I'm not a huge expert on this sort of stuff. What I am an expert at is having conversations with people. And so the way I look at content is really based on this, on two key quotes. One is from Rick Rubin, who says the audience comes last. And that is incredibly valuable, because if you start engineering content to get clients, I would wager that unless you know what the hell you're doing, which we've already established I really don't, that in our hands, your and mine, it's going to have the opposite effect, because it's going to sound too salesy. It's not going to sound like us. It's just going to be something that is very, very noisy or very, very turn off-ish to someone who's consuming it, because they're going to know exactly what it is immediately. And that is not the goal, obviously, especially if you are in a business that is human to human. Now, if you have a product and you don't need any human connection or anything like that, I don't know that anything I'm going to say is going to be that crazy helpful to you, because I'm in the business of a human helping other humans directly. I love human problems, and that's that's why I have the approach I do. All right. But the first thing is, if you're trying to engineer content to get clients, I'm not the person for you for that. But the first thing is, audience comes last, which means make what you want to make. Right? You have opinions, you have things you agree with, don't agree with, you have experiences that nobody else has and all that sort of stuff. And I know that sounds simplistic, and everybody says online, just be you. But if I were to give you a mechanism, what I would basically say is, what are my core beliefs? What pisses me off? What is something that I could just talk at length on, whether it's free or paid or whatever, and then combine those with looking backwards in your week and say, what happened this last week, right? You meld those two together, and you kind of have what I would say is the second quote that is how I build my content on, which is content fills space, POV shifts minds. And so if you have your big opinions, you have your experiences, you have what you did in the previous week, and you just combine all those, what do you have? You have a point of view, right? And so, for instance, I have been talking with a client who has like a business partner that they're having kind of at odds with, or I talked to a client who I've been sick the last few weeks, and I'm finally healthy now, thank goodness, because I have 3 young kids and I'm sick all the time. But I'm finally healthy again. But during the sickness, I posted an email about it, and somebody said, like, how do you function on sickness if you have a business to run? And so I talked about that. And so I'm just giving my point of view where I can provide value, but it's uniquely my opinion, uniquely my experiences. So that is exactly where I would start with content, because at the end of the day, people want to be around other people like them. And so one of the best ways you can create content that is going to be more attractive to a future client is by talking about things you like. Almost all of my clients have at least 2, 3, maybe even 5 to 10 things that I like, that they like as well, that we're just like, we can jam on that entirely, has nothing to do with business, right? One of my clients loves Lego. One of my clients loves minimalism. One of my clients loves talking about being a dad. Like, all of this stuff is, the more and more you put that kind of stuff into your content, and you don't have to engineer like how to this or these steps here, change it more to how I felt during this, what I did, this happened, here's how I responded. And that is the type of content that's going to be more attractive to somebody, especially if you're in the human to human world. Okay. The next one is really, really simple, but I swear almost all the founders I help personally or like come into my circle don't do this, right? And so if you have a tiny audience like mine, again, only up until recently has it been around 11,000 people. For the most part, it was like less than 8,000 people. Most of them, wouldn't necessarily be buyers and stuff. A lot of them followed me on LinkedIn when I was posting every day. And, I'm out of budget for a lot of those people, and that's fine. But like, if you don't have a massive audience, when you post content, again, if it's your POV, it can shift some minds, right? If it's the audience comes last, it's what you like. So that's going to keep you doing it. If you can get to that level, and it takes time, and I still feel like I'm trying to get to where I need to go in content, like even this video, I've recorded this video 3 times, not because I'm a perfectionist, but because every other time I'm like, man, I'm trying to create a video. This is the first one where I'm like, no, I'm talking to somebody. And that's how I want it to feel like. I'm basically talking to somebody about things I like. And if you can get your content there, that's amazing. Whether you write it, record it, whatever, right? But so few founders do this next step, is when I'm giving something I like when I publish this video, I can't control whether it gets 10 views, 100 views, 1,000,000 views. I can't control any of that, right? I'm not talking about a recipe to satisfy the algorithm. So when I press publish, I detach. I'm done. I did the work. I did something I liked. And now it's up to the universe, the market, to decide if it's valuable enough, right? But here's the deal. If the market decides that, if only one person likes this video or one person comments on it or whatever, then I'm going to do this next step, which is literally get into their inbox, say thank you for them taking the time to engage with my stuff, and then ask them about them. Not in a pitch in the DMs way. We are nowhere near having an offer put in front of them or, pitching or whatever. We're not into the pitch slap game. You have to earn the pitch, right? And for me, because my business is so focused on alignment, because all of my clients do feel like friends, that starts on the front end. I only want to work with people I like. So how could I possibly pitch somebody before I know I like them? Let that sit with you for a second. If you are pitching people before you even know who they are, there's a reason that you keep going in this endless cycle. There's a reason you have to keep churning out clients and go getting new ones. There's a reason that it doesn't feel very good. Is because on the front end, you care way more about the sale than the person who buys it. That is a huge issue, right? And that is what I help clients solve. Many of them are really good at sales. The problem is they're so focused on the sale that they don't actually think about, do I want to serve this person? Will they be successful with me? Could I work with them for 5 years, 10 years? Because the real retention, and I don't want to go crazy off here because we're talking about content, but just so you know, the real retention is the real profit is in retention. The real profit is in retention. If you can keep people for a long time, your life gets way easier because you don't have to keep chasing, right? So that kind of goes back full circle. If someone already shows interest in something that is clearly my point of view, the audience comes last and they're like, man, that was really valuable, or thank you so much for being the one to say that, or wow, I watched this whole thing to the end. Those are really good indicators that they agree with your point of view and are worth having a chat with. When they make the first move, your business is far easier to run. And I got probably 18 to 19 out of my clients out of 27 last year in my first year of business from this very fact of I would post something, even if only 100 impressions If somebody liked it, then I would go in there and say, thank you so much for liking this post. Would love to hear more about you, or what resonated about the post with you specifically, or hey, just jump straight to coffee because I love having coffee with other founders with no agenda, and say, yo, thank you so much. Can I buy you a coffee? I really appreciate you just consuming my stuff at all. And you'd be amazed at how many conversations you can get just by doing that. And the conversations are so easy because they made the first move. And so if the question is, how do I create content that generates clients and not likes? I would say use the likes to generate clients. Now, obviously not everyone's going to buy. Use the likes to generate conversations. And the reason I went kind of monologue-y about you shouldn't be pitching someone unless you know you like them is the whole point of how do I decide if I like them? A conversation, right? Maybe you can do it in the DMs. Maybe you do it over coffee. Maybe it takes several months of back and forth. But what I'm telling you is that content should be for you. Content should be for you, what you care about. And then when the right person sees it and lets you know about it via a like or a comment, that is when you don't just say, hey, thanks for the like or the comment and leave it, or worse, do nothing at all. You thank them via a personal message and then take the conversation deeper. Coffee, learn more about them in the DMs, ask them questions. The most interesting person in the room is the one who says the least, which means get them talking, ask them questions. And that's how I built a 6-figure business in my first year, having never gone viral, with the majority of my posts, whether it was on LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube, getting less than 100 views in many cases, and still getting 27 clients from social media, 20 clients from social media, right? So I hope this video helped you. If you have a tiny audience, those would be the 2 things. Create content for you. When someone resonates with it, they'll let you know. Take that to the next level. But for the love of all that you believe in, take it to the next level in your opportunity to learn about them, not for you to pitch them. Don't look at that person as a sale. Look at them as someone to learn something about. Because if you learn enough about them, high chance that they'll present an opportunity where it makes sense for you to work together. And that's when you get a client. So hope this video helped you. If you want to learn a little bit more about how I'm building traffic for clients and that sort of stuff in terms of getting people to view my stuff and doing it in an anti-ick ethical way, I created this video, basically Funnel Building 101, and it just talks about my funnel for 2026. If you want to watch that, fantastic watch. And thank you so much for watching this one. We'll see you in the next one.